Hey guys, today's video is going to be the author A to Z tag, which I saw Gene Bookish Thoughts do, and quite fancy doing myself, so yeah, gonna do it. Basically, the idea behind it is you list a book by an author with the author's surname being in an alphabetical order. A book for each letter of the alphabet. So shall we get started? So A is for The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy by Douglas Adams, pretty obviously, it's one of my favourite books. Then for B, I've got The Codex Alera, which is a series by Jim Butcher, and I really like it. The premise of the book is the lost Roman legion ending up in a world where they have some sort of magical abilities, and then their descendants many generations on, dealing with basically some sort of alien. It's a pretty interesting premise, and I reckon that you should go check it out. The Black Magician trilogy by Trudy Canavan is my choice for C, and I've recently started rereading it, and it's just as good as I remembered. Cupcakes, Trinkets and Other Deadly Magic by Megan Siana Doige has been my choice for D. I did a review, which you will be able to see by clicking on the link on my face. For E, I've gone for The Elenium and the Tamuli by David Eddings. I love these two series dearly, and just read them. I really like them. They're really good. For F, I went for The Air Affair by Jasper Fforde, and I wasn't sure about it. I just didn't have too many other choices for F that I could think of off the top of my head. I suppose there probably are some that I just wasn't able to think of, but it was the only one I could think of at the time when I was scripting this. For G, I went for the Troy trilogy by David Gemmell, which is a really interesting historical fiction take on the Trojan War of the Iliad that you should really check out. I should really reread them again because it's really good stuff. For H, I went for Dune by Frank Herbert, because who doesn't love the Kwisatz Haderach and the Atreides and the Harkonnens and just everything. Dune, go for it. For I went for Wolf of the Plains by Con Iggulden. It was a difficult decision, but it was the only one I could really come up with for I. Yeah, you should check that out. It's an interesting historical fiction take on Genghis Khan. For J, I went for The 100-Year-Old Man Who Climbed Out of a Window and Disappeared by Jonas Jonasson. And it got turned into a film last year, and it was an interesting take, but the book's even better, so go check it out. For K, I struggled a bit because I couldn't really think of many. So I ended up going for Just So Stories by Rudyard Kipling, which I had listened to as an audiobook when I was a child, and I have very fond memories of it, but it was one of those trippy sort of weird ones for kids. For L, I've gone for The Pendragon Cycle by Stephen Lawhead, which is a semi-realistic take on the Arthurian legends. Basically, everything comes from Atlantis. Everything. So that's where all the weird shit comes from. For M, I went for The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern, and if you click on the annotation above my face, you will be taken to my review of that book. For N, I went for Sabriel by Garth Nix, which is the first book in the Old Kingdom sequence, and I really enjoy it. I enjoy it far more than the other books, which are good, but Sabriel is just fantastic. You learn so much from it. So much. For O, I almost had to go for George Orwell and ones that I hadn't actually read, but then I remembered Scott Pilgrim by Brian Lee O'Malley. For P, I went for Guards by Terry Pratchett, which was my opening into the Discworld because it's fantastic and I love the Discworld. For Q, I had no choice but to go for The Silver Linings Playbook by Matthew Quick, which I didn't really like all that much. For R, I went for Contest by Matthew Riley, which is a really interesting book about this bloke who ends up with his daughter being kidnapped to participate in an alien deathmatch contest that is meant to be some really honourable thing, but most humans don't really know about it, so they're like, shit, where the hell are we? But it's being held on Earth, so they're finding that they're fighting to the death in a museum, and it's really it's an interesting book, really. For S, I went for Mr. Penumbra's 24-Hour Bookstore by Robin Sloan, and if you click on the annotation on my face, you will be taken to a review of it. T was a really difficult one as well, but I ended up going for Hybrids by David Thorpe. It was a difficult choice. It's a really interesting one where the whole premise is that because of a weird virus, people started merging with technology, and then they are called hybrids, and they have not many rights, and everything is kind of shit for them. And so it's basically them trying to sort things out. For you, I went for Asterix and the Secret Weapon, because Asterix, come on, who doesn't like the mighty Asterix, the Gaul? For V, I went for Saga by Brian Vaughan, because Saga's fantastic, and if you haven't been reading it, you really should. It's really good. For W, I kind of cheated and went for the Matthew Swift series by Kate Griffin, but Kate Griffin is a pen name for Catherine Webb, so I'm technically cheating, but I'm also technically not. So get lost. And if you click on the annotation on my face at the moment, you'll be taken to the review I did of the first book in that series. Couldn't find anything for X or Y, so I'm missing them out. For Z, I went for The Book Thief by Marcus Zuzak. Before it became a movie, I read it years and years ago, and really, really enjoyed it, even if I did read it for school. I don't really have anyone that I would like to tag that's likely to do it, so I'm just going to leave it open and let anyone who wants to say that I tagged them, because go for it. I hope that you enjoyed this video and that you remember to like and share it and subscribe to my channel. Click on the thumbnails above to see other videos by me, including the book review of The Ambassador's Mission, the first book in the Traitor Spy trilogy that I did the other day, and the first video in my VEDA playlist. Bye!